I was asked to give a presentation on the topic HyoJeong and purity and historical perspective. So I will speak about three things. Guess what? I will speak about HyoJeong, I will speak about purity, and then I will speak an historical perspective. HyoJeong. HyoJeong, my first topic. In English, as Dr. Incheon mentioned, it's heavenly heart or filial heart. And the root of this word comes from filial piety, which of course is a Confucian kind of idea. And in filial piety, if you study it, it means the love of a child to the parents. And that's a wonderful, good thing. Filial piety focuses on this vertical love of a child for their parent. But Mother said, that's not enough. That's not clear enough. We need a mind as clear as crystal in order to have strong heart and determination. So she introduced the word HyoJeong. It's a Korean term coined by our true mother. It means filial heart, not just filial piety or filial love. It integrates the internal quality of selfless love found in filial piety, applying it to all 6 relationships within the family: the parent-child, brother-sister, and husband and wife. So if we look at the graphics, it would look like this. It's not only the children's love to the parents, but it's the parents' love to the children. It's not only the older brother, older sister, younger sister, love to each other. And it includes husband and wife love together. So in my mind, this is HyoJeong. In other words, it's like filial love, but in 6 different directions. And all those different directions start moving around and you get a wonderful sphere or circle. And that can therefore be eternal, and they nurture each other. True Father said this in his autobiography: the basis of love is the heart that sacrifices everything for the sake of others. The reason parental love is true love is that parents are willing to give everything to their children. And when they've given everything, they still want to give even more. Wow. So we can say HyoJeong is where the parental love is injected into all 4 realms of heart. Let me explain. We have the 4 realms of heart that we all know: children's love, siblings love, conjugal love, and parental love. We know that. So within children's love, this is the love between parents and children. And that is the foundation. That is the foundation for the next love, the siblings love, the brother and sister love. But it's not just, do I love my brother and sister? Do I have a feeling for my brother and sister? No. What is the quality of that relationship? How do you treat your brother and sister? And in that, the love of your parents should be there in the center of that. I will treat my brother and sister as my parents would treat my brother and sister. Therefore, I cannot mistreat my brother and sister. Never. Because it would hurt not just my brother and sister, it would hurt my parents. And then that is the foundation for conjugal love. And that is the love of a husband and wife. But it's not just loving each other. I love, or I have a feeling in my heart for my spouse. No. How do you treat your spouse? How do you care for them? And that means you take the parents' love. I love my spouse as my parents would love my spouse, as true parents gave them to me. So I can never misuse my spouse. Never. The idea cannot even enter my mind. And then when we have the parental love, that's the husband and wife love. And of course, inside that, how do I treat my children? And then we have the heart of a parent to treat our children. To me, this is kind of the explanation that I like so clearly in my heart. This is HyoJeong, where at the center of each of these loves, there is the parental love, this unconditional, total giving. I never want to hurt. I only want to help love. This came from where? True mother. She didn't think of this intellectually. She's sharing with us her experience, her heart. So what is the nature of true love? Mother explains that, and I think one of the best explanations that I have seen is from Mother's autobiography or memoir. When she met True Father for the first time, I love this. I'll share it with you. I greeted Father Moon politely, and as he returned the greeting, he asked my mother, "Who is this child?" "This is my daughter," she replied. With a look of surprise, Father Moon gazed at me as he said to my mother, "You have such a pretty daughter." He then closed his eyes, as if in meditation, and asked my name. I politely replied, "My name is HyoJeong." He began expressing gratitude to God, saying, "You sent such a magnificent daughter named HyoJeong to Korea." And he said that 3 times. Then True Father spoke to me, means True Mother, as if he were asking me to gather my resolve. "HyoJeong, you will need to make sacrifices in the future." "Yes," I replied, surprised at my own forwardness. On the way home on the train, my mother and I thought the encounter was curious. As we fell into silence, I contemplated the word sacrifice. The word Father Moon used took on a meaning different from what I had learned in textbooks. What he was alluding to was a higher dimension of sacrifice, a nobler, more complete sacrifice. What you sacrifice is important, but why? Why you make that sacrifice is even more important. I thought about what I might need to sacrifice. From that day forward, the word sacrifice was engraved in my heart. Thinking back as the person called to live as the mother of peace, I realized that over time, sacrifice became a name that I would call myself. What you sacrifice is important, but why you make that sacrifice is even more important. Mother had this thought at such a young age. This is amazing. This was the heart of True Mother when she accepted her position. She was not told it's going to be glorious and magnificent. She told it's going to be a sacrifice. So we look on the outside at True Mother, and we have the term Mother of Peace, rightly so. But how does True Mother look at herself? Mother of sacrifice. That's the heart of HyoJeong. And that's why she coined this term. Later on in her memoir, she also said this, and it applies to each of us at our own blessing ceremony. The marriage blessing ceremony conducted by the true parents is the sacrament rooted in a single-minded devotion. It is a ceremony of true love. And true love embodies sacrifice. A poet once said, love is the pain of giving up yourself. Joyfully, without hesitation, again and again. We cannot achieve true love without offering sacrifice. Wow. Therefore, we can understand now why the family is so important and why we as young people have to prepare for this important family building program in our life. It's more important than anything that we do. Parents must honor their children. Children must honor their parents. Every religion, it doesn't matter where you're from, Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Christianity, Islam, every religion says honor your parents. We have a Nepal members from Hindu. Your mother is God, your father is God. If you honor your parents, then you will align your mind and body. Your public mindedness will be in the correct order. Not just loving yourself most, but loving someone else more than you love yourself. That's the seed. That's the seed. And that is called filial piety. But then it expands, of course, as we've seen, and it takes every dimension of love. It's at the heart of every love that we have. And it develops good character within us. It develops a conscience, a North Star. So if you are worried, anytime in your life, young people, if you are worried, well, is this right or wrong? Shall I do it? Shall I not do it? I'm not sure. Very simple. Close your eyes and ask yourself, will this make my parents happy? Your mind will become crystal clear immediately. Immediately. Will this make my parents happy? Then you know, then your original mind. You answer that question, it'll be very clear. Father talks about living for the sake of others. Mother talks about HyoJeong. What's the difference? We have two parents. They're teaching us the same thing. They're trying to teach in different ways. That's wonderful. We are so lucky. We are so lucky. Outside people are confused about this point. This is the most important question that you can answer. It'll give guidance and direction to your life. Living for the sake of others. Our responsibility before we get blessed, this is as an individual, is to align the mind and body in the proper order, giving priority to public mindedness over the desires of the body. That's what we are called to do as individuals. Both the mind and body are necessary. Both are created by God. They are both good. But the alignment of the mind and body is more important, and that is our priority. Animals do not do this. They do not have this responsibility. Their behavior is just built in. We are not animals. This is the primary reason why we are not animals. Primary reason. Jesus taught us, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Now we know what it means. Jesus answered the question, well, how can we reach perfection? What does it mean? Can we reach perfection? Yes. If you want to be perfect, Jesus said, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor. Then come and follow me. In other words, Jesus said, if you want to be perfect, you have to be perfect in your heart. You have to be willing to give. And this is the challenge that we have. We sometimes think, if I want to be successful, I have to take. If I want to be a successful businessman, how much money can I acquire? If I want to be successful as a politician, how much power can I acquire? If I want to be successful in academics, how much knowledge can I acquire? What can I take? But in the perfection of the heart, it's the opposite. It's how much you can give. Because selfishness is the enemy of true love. This is Father's favorite Bible verse. Whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it. The dichotomy is here. But whoever loses his life will preserve it. Father must have read this Bible verse and instantly it clicked in his heart. He remembered it and repeated it again and again and again and again. If you read Father's speeches, you will find this Bible verse frequently quoted. Another one, let no one seek his own good. Wow. But the good of his neighbor. So our responsibility, very simple, learn to give. Learn to give. If you want to have strong muscles, then what do? You have to repeat again and again. You have to sweat and exercise. You sweat and exercise, and you do the same thing again and again. You lift those barbells again and again and again, and you can build muscles. What about learning to give? We have to practice again and again and again until it becomes habit. Father said this, to realize that we exist for the sake of others. That's a great achievement. Great achievement. That's the transition from immaturity as a child to maturity as an adult who is now ready to get blessed in marriage. Wow. It's a great achievement. Great achievement. When we realize that our life is not ours alone, but is meant to be for the sake of others, we begin to follow a path different from the one we were on. Well, we're on the path of maturity. Children naturally think of themselves. They don't have the capability, the capacity. But adults, if adults act that way, it's called selfishness. And if the adults do that and they keep doing it over and over again, then we put them in jail because they can't control themselves. So we will control you. Society will control you. Wow. How much we've learned. HyoJeong. I spent a lot of time on that because it is the most important. I'll go quickly through this next one because I think you know this already. Sexual purity. Sexual purity. Fear-based purity. I was the head of Pure Love Alliance in America. So, and that was my doctoral degree is in that area. So I know a little bit about this. This is the concept of fear-based purity in the outside world. Number one, don't get a disease. What's the solution? Yeah, wear a condom. And number two, don't get anybody pregnant or get pregnant. What's the solution? Contraceptive. Don't get accused. Don't have somebody accuse you later. Oh, he had sex and I didn't have consent. Oh, then get consent. Now you almost have to have it in writing or videotape or something. So this is the outside world concept of what we call CCC sex. A condom, a contraceptive, and consent. And then you can have any time you want to, then you're free to have sex. This is a lie. This is not free sex. This is just, I want the pleasure of sex, but I don't want any responsibility. This is selfish sex. Just for me. I don't care about my partner. Don't care about the future, my parents, my future children. Just pleasure. Wow. Contrary to that, love-based purity, or as whatever mother is doing, everything she touches, she puts two letters, HJ, HJ Magnolia Business, HJ Building, everywhere. Why? She wants us to learn something. This is her brand. This is her message. And she's going to say it again and again and again because it is so important. Instead of love-based, let's call it HJ-based purity. Repeating myself, how do I treat my brothers and sisters? With my parents' love. I cannot misuse. I cannot misuse. This will hurt my parents. How do I treat my spouse? With my parents' love. So before my spouse is my spouse, they are the son and daughter of God and true parents. How do I treat my children? With parental love. Mother said this, we marry to resemble God. Husband and wife together reflect the original nature of God. So that means this mother has given us the answer. What is the uniqueness of human sexuality? This mother gave the answer. People are so confused about this point. What is unique about human sexuality? Well, it's unique from what? From animal sex. Well, if you ask people, why do you have sex? And they will say pleasure or procreation. And I will say, that's right, but that's what animals do. That's not unique. Animals have sex for pleasure and for procreation, but it's not unique. What is unique? What is the purpose of human sexuality for human beings different from animals? Mother just gave us the answer. To be in the image of God. Husband and wife should be bound together in the image of God. And so the conjugal relationship between husband and wife, they have that relationship even though the woman is infertile, in menopause. Animals don't do that. So we're supposed to make love all the time. Even when we're young and healthy, yes, we can have children. And when we can't have children, we should still make love. And in the spirit world, yes, we can't have children, but we can still make love. Wow, adieu. In conclusion, and I might end up going a little bit early, but I think that will be okay. My last part, an historical perspective. Well, let's take the most historical perspective, not just an historical or any historical perspective, but let's take the most ancient, the oldest perspective on HyoJeong and sexual purity that we can find. And where do we go? We go to the Bible. Genesis 1:27, the original ideal of creation. I'm sure you know the verse. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Semicolon, new sentence. Male and female, he created them. So, whoa. So there are two different dimensions that we're talking about here. That man is to be in the image of God individually. And that's the first part. That's HyoJeong. Each of us are created with the potential to be in the image of God. As Jesus said, each of us has the possibility to reach perfection. That's HyoJeong. That's HyoJeong. The second one, male and female, he created them. That is sexual purity. So it means that we are created in the image of God individually, and as Mother said, we are created to be in the image of God together as husband and wife. This is very biblical, and yet for 2,000 years, Christianity has not clearly understood. This is what true parents are giving. They're not asking, Christianity to check out the Bible. They're saying, let's use the Bible to understand God's original purpose of creation. And the next verse, Genesis 1:28, we know this one already. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and have dominion over everything upon the three great blessings. Three great blessings: to be fruitful, to multiply, and to have dominion. The first one, mind and body should be centered on God. We know that. And then this is how we reach perfection. Perfection of individual character in your relationship to God. learning to live for the sake of others. HyoJeong, his mother calls it, right? The second blessing, a perfected man individually, a perfected woman individually, come together and complete each other. Man needs woman to be fully man and vice versa, centering on God. And then God gives them one of the most precious gifts as a couple. The love that a man and woman together, God is saying, I'm giving you the power to recreate my children. They're your children, but they're God's grandchildren. And grandparents, I'm now a grandparent. Grandparents love their grandchildren more than their own children. Children don't mind. They love that. That's what they want. So we create the relationships of love. The third blessing, of course, humankind in relationship with all things of creation. Take this perfection, this public-mindedness, and this loving relationship, and that's how we care for creation. So our topic is what? HyoJeong. So the first blessing, HyoJeong. The first blessing is HyoJeong. The second blessing, sexual purity. Those two are the most important. If you get that right, the third blessing is automatic. It's automatic. We will build a heavenly culture of goodness. Heavenly culture of goodness means what? The laws that we create will be good. Politicians won't use laws for their own personal well-being or gain. The movies that we make will be good. The internet will be good. The education will be good. The media will be good. The religious education, or in some cases, we may not have religion, but in essence, the education within the realm of philosophy will be good. We will create a Cheonbo culture. Not just Cheonbo families. We will create Cheonbo villages, Cheonbo cities, Cheonbo municipalities, Cheonbo regions, Cheonbo nations, and a Cheonbo world. This is how we do it. So it means we are all participants. No one is a spectator. We are all participants in building this Cheonbo culture. Wow. We can see something very clearly here, and this is probably an important point of education for the young people. The fall of man was not simply the misuse of love, of sexual love. The fall of man was not simply the misuse of sexual love between Eve and the archangel, and then later between Eve and Adam. No. The misuse of sexual love created a lineage, a satanic lineage, which is why Satan is called the ruler of this world, or the god of this world. But the cause of misusing love was the lack of HyoJeong in the heart of Adam and Eve. God poured out his heart when he created everything. And we looked, 6 days of creation. And God said, it's good. Everything that God created, it's good. And at the end, he said, it's very good. Did Adam in the Bible ever say, thank you? I never read that. Did Eve say, thank you? God was talking to his children. God gave the commandment to Adam, do not eat. Did Adam say thank you? Or did he ask a question? Well, what do you really mean by that? Or could you explain yourself? Or could we talk about this? No. Eve had a question. She was given the commandment, do not eat and do not touch. The stimulation, as a man, the stimulation of touching a woman is very powerful. God told Eve, don't eat and don't touch. Eve had a question. That's fine, no problem. But who did she ask? God gave the commandment and Eve asked the archangel. That's a HyoJeong problem. That means her heart is not connected to God. That means she's more comfortable talking to the archangel than her father. That is the fall. Then they misuse love. Because there's nothing to protect them. There's nothing to guide them. So the fall of man was a combination of lack of development of HyoJeong and the misuse of love together. Jesus connected Genesis 1:27 with Genesis 2:24. The first part, Genesis 1:27, we just read that. Haven't you read? Jesus replied, at the beginning, the Creator, quote, made them male and female. So the second part of the Genesis 1:27, that we are made in the image of God, it says very clearly, male and female. Then Jesus adds and connects that to Genesis 2:24. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cling to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So clearly, Genesis 1:27, image of God individually, and here is proof. The second part, image of God together as man and woman. Jesus told us that. It's so clear. So what did Jesus mean? Well, look at two parts. Leave your father and mother. Leave your father and mother does not mean goodbye. Does not mean I will live somewhere else. I will pay my own rent. That is not what it means. And even Christians have misunderstood this. Why Father is teaching us 3-generation family is the idea of the grandparents should live with their children and their grandchildren. So what does it mean to leave? Well, when a baby is born, it leaves the womb. It doesn't separate from its mother. Now it actually grows closer to its mother because now the mother can give milk to the baby. So to leave means to be born. If you leave high school, they call it a graduation. And your last ceremony at high school is called a commencement. You're now going into the world. So to leave can be what? It can be you're going to be born or you're going to graduate. What are you going to be born from? You're going to be born from the position of child. You are in the position of child to your parents and brother and sister to your siblings. But primarily in this relationship, you are now going to graduate from this position of child and graduate into the position of husband and wife. And you will be given the responsibility, the love that can create new life. Cling to your wife means the relationship should be husband in the image of God, wife in the image of God. They come together and amplify that image of God. And the two become one flesh. Chun il guk. Two become one flesh. That's what the Bible says. Chun il guk. This is where it happens. Two become one flesh. We're bound together in the image of God. So what does this mean? The first one, leave your father and mother. This is HyoJeong. What we are talking about. This is HyoJeong. You should be living with, attending your parents in the position of child. And then you are born from this position. You graduate from this position and your sexual purity. So it means if you're not married, no sex. If you are married, you stay faithful, filial. So what is the historical perspective? HyoJeong and filial piety was at the very beginning of creation. It was God's purpose, design, function, the way that we should work. It's so important. My second to the last slide. In the Garden of Eden, HyoJeong and purity were absolutely essential to fulfill God's ideal and purpose of creation. That's a historical perspective, the most historical. From HJ-centered individuals would emerge a marriage, a family, a society, a nation, and a world of HJ, HyoJeong. The blueprint for the kingdom of heaven on earth should have been established in Eden. And it's these two things. Live for the sake of other and honor marriage. You honor marriage before you get married, by the way. The blueprint for the kingdom of heaven on earth should have been established in Eden. It was based on two things: HyoJeong and sexual purity. There is an English saying, it may not get translated well, but I think you'll catch it. When all else fails. In other words, if you buy a mechanical or electronic gadget from the store and you cannot figure it out, well, how does this thing work? Or I knew it should be working like this, but how do I make it work like that? In the internet age, we'll just Google it, right? But in the original packaging of that particular product, they will have this warning sign. Read and understand the operator's manual before using this machine. Failure to follow operating instructions could result in death or serious injury. This was God's warning label. We are so confused in our society. Now it seems more than ever. We need to go back to the original design and purpose and function of what it means to be human as an individual and as a couple, husband and wife together. I want to thank you so much for your time and for your attention. You allowed me to give, and I enjoyed myself. I hope that it was educational. Thank you very much.